for joining us on tonight's latest episode of Starseed Activations. Welcome. So tonight we're going to have some extraordinary topics that we're going to cover. And so first, I do want to go into a couple things. So thank you so incredibly much for the overwhelming support on our crystal program. And so many of you guys have sent in crystals that we are going to take and we are going to re-gift to all of the people who purchase a crystal box from us. And so the purchase goes towards the shipping. And then we also have extra goodies and surprises that we got so we can fill the boxes. And so this is turning out to be a really fun way for us to be able to take our old crystals and then shine a lot of love and light into the crystal and then share them with each other in this community. And so all of my crystals, I want to donate 95% to this project. And so, yeah, it's just amazing, amazing. Also, I did do a post the other night on the last live that I did asking you guys for your support. One of our members of our community, his name was Jacob. He is going through a transition in his life. And so he does need shelter. And he also has a 10-month-old child. And so we wanted, I had asked everyone, if you donate $100 or more, send me a message and I will gift you guys with a free session. And so that's just us being kind human beings and doing the right thing for one of our own. And so we take care of each other here. And that's how I live and that's how everyone lives. I even sent him a gift. So he received donation from me. So yeah. Hi, everyone. Hi, Melissa. Welcome, welcome. So yeah, thank you guys for supporting and just all coming together. Like, I really feel like this community is turning into a family. And so that's how it feels. And I interact with everyone who talks to me. I talk to everyone. It's just amazing. So we did have a couple questions come in. And yeah, how would I contact you? So you can actually go to daniellelipton.com. And so there's a little message icon in the lower right-hand corner. And so that sends a message directly to my phone. Or you can actually go to treeoflifeorganization.com. And so that's my Facebook blog page. You can send messages there. It goes right to my phone. So yeah, and then I have Danielle Lipton, the Facebook profile as well. So I check all of these things every single day. So yeah, you guys can just get in contact. Also, if you have questions for the next live feed, I normally take a list. And so people send me questions and then I just go right down the list and I answer them all. But somehow 10 questions always turns into like 2 hours with me. So there's just download after download and the star people come through with so much information. And so it is important to really allow the information to come in and absorb it and then just take your time unpacking it. And even if listening to me every single day of the week feels like it's too much information, just know the information actually tunes into your subconscious mind, which then in turn, it will automatically start the unpacking process when it's right in your life. And so it's going to help and jumpstart your evolution. That's what I'm designed to do. That's what they've told me. And so that's why this is Starseed Activations. And it's because when we take our ability to download and transmit knowledge is also a frequency. It's a very high frequency, the type of knowledge you're giving through me. And so it comes with a frequency code that when you reach a certain level of consciousness, that frequency code, bam, it starts to activate and then all that knowledge comes rushing into you. And so this is another reason why during my sessions, I do the crystal exchange. I'll put a link up on my profile. So treeoflifeorganization.com as well as daniellelipton.com. And so I'll even post the P.O. box. It's P.O. Box 56 at Emmaus, E-M-M-A-U-S, P.A. for Pennsylvania, 18049. And so that I'll post it all up on Facebook. And so, yeah, you can go treeoflifeorganization.com and you can see that. Yeah. So the information that comes through me, it's really, really important because it allows you to, when it is needed in your independent life, it allows it to be activated. And so that's really important because it changes your belief patterning ever so slightly. And so when you really fully embody the higher frequencies, they're saying it's like an activation. So it's going to be like, wham. And then you already know all the information because you've heard it once before. So you can't unring a bell. That's what they say. And so when you hear something, it stays in your psyche. And so not only that, but I have several people that contact and communicate with me. And so what we do is we take this information and we beam it into the Earth consciousness grid. And so that's another way of sharing the information. Now, the way that works is basically we all have heard before that when one person gets a thought, let's say they invented the light bulb. Well, actually, 2 people invented the light bulb at the same time, but actually 3 people got the download for the light bulb at the same time. Only 2 people made moves to put it into production. And so we only hear about the 2 people who have brought forward that information. Well, that's the way the human consciousness grids actually work. It works because we send and receive information or knowledge or thought forms to and from this grid constantly. And so it's electrical in nature, so it is tied into your thought grid. And so when you start to realize that you are a receiver and an amplifier for energetics, then all of a sudden it allows you to broadcast your thoughts, not only accept them, but broadcast them up into that grid. So let's say, for example, you're like me and you had this crazy thought where you can see Earth completely becoming a free planet and we no longer need a money system and everyone lives in peace and harmony with nature and we're not polluting the earth and we're loving each other and caring about each other, and our school districts may be a tiny bit different. And so they focus primarily on learn this information from a book and answer the information. Well, what if we did something different? And so we're like, let's play and have fun. And then you guys are going to learn more information because it's during the act of playing and having fun, your excitement jumps up. Whenever we're excited, we tend to learn more information retains inside of our energetic grids. And so, yeah, I see the world that we can live in, and I see this, but I also see the reason why me personally, I see the reason why I'm here. And that's because we're about to unlock extrasensory abilities. And that is my highest passion. And so it makes sense that they would send me here to help everyone unlock these things, right? And so each one of them unlocks by unlocking the belief pattern. Can you hear me now? If everyone can hear me, just give me a thumbs up or just put a comment in. I think I can only see the comments, not on Instagram, on Facebook. So yeah, if, I don't know, what was I saying? I read the comments. I should never read the comments. The comments throw me off. Okay. So let me see. Yeah, so big changes to the earth. And then not only that, but the changes are happening with the solar energetics, the star people are saying. And so when they happen with the solar energetics, and all of a sudden you can kind of see how the sun has risen in frequency, which is why it looks more of a white color. And so we've also entered into a higher frequency area of the solar system. And now this plays an entire impact on the consciousness grids. You can see how we are going through an entire spiritual revolution right now, in which people are waking up. People are starting to say, oh, okay, well, we want to live in peace and harmony with Mother Earth. We don't want her to be damaged or polluted. And so it's a shift in the way that we think. Now, if you would have asked any one of us, maybe 20 years ago, we did not think like this. The majority of us, some of us were already awakened because some of us were tasked to solidify that knowledge. That's what the star people are saying. So some of us came here 20 years ago and we were wide awake. And some of those people were quite agitated by the situation, they're saying, because imagine being awake for 20 years and everyone thinks you're crazy. And so now all of a sudden, because they were broadcasting like an amplifier, all those thoughts and feelings and emotions into the grid every single day, into the grid. We're not living right. This is what needs to be done. Da, da, da. Then all of a sudden now it's catching on like wildfire. And so when you take your thoughts, you can project them up. And when you project your thoughts up, just know, scientifically speaking, that any thought that you have, there is 2 other people on this planet who are having the same thought. So be crazy and think freedom. Because each and every one of us deserves to live free. And living free means there's high technology, there's free energy devices, and there's different things that will make our lives so much easier. And that's not even beginning to tap into the spiritual gifts, because whatever you are available to do with technology, we can do with just the human consciousness. And so when we say the human consciousness, that basically means if you have a replicator can give you anything that you want. So say it gave you a crystal. Instantaneously, the replicator spit a crystal at you. Well, you can feel the emotional imprint, the binary codex frequency, the location coding, and the experiential coding of that crystal. And then you can sit here and you can believe that you have one in your hands. And then all of a sudden, a crystal, the same crystal that you are feeling and thinking and wishing and visualizing, not wishing, visualizing, and believing that you have it. And that crystal will in time manifest in your hands. And so many times people start the manifestation process like this. They will sit, they will visualize, their hand will be empty, they will visualize. And so they will figure out the emotion code. It's the emotion code. How does it feel to have the crystal? Your emotions are everything, because the emotions is what manifests into the physical reality. So when you feel sick, you get more sick feeling. That's how that works. That's why the second you get a diagnosis, you'll notice that people, they have to handle it right then and there, because now they're aware. Now they have an extra feeling, and there's a lot of fear involved. And so, but when you start to figure out the emotion codings for how to manifest an item, what does this item feel like? So we know each and every crystal has a vibratory frequency that affects the human form. And so what does it feel like? What is it doing for you? How does it change? What's the emotion code of it? What properties does it have? So you can check the crystal Bible, and so you can figure out how does it change your life. So what emotion code did this crystal give you that manifested you changing or making altercations into your timeline? The star people are saying. And so when you take that all into consideration, then all of a sudden you don't actually need the crystal. You just hold the frequency of how does it feel. When you hold the frequency of how does it feel, automatically that experiential manifests into your physical reality. However, if you're trying to manifest an item, you need to know, how does it feel to hold it? How does it smell? I wouldn't taste the crystal, but if you wanted to taste it, how does it taste? Go deep, anything. Well, how does it make you feel? Is it beautiful? Does it make your heart open? Can you visualize it? Can you believe that you have it? Now, in the beginning stages of manifestation, you won't have the crystal. You'll believe you have the crystal. And then you close your eyes, and all of a sudden a person will come over and they will drop the crystal in your hands. And then you will have the crystal. That process is going to happen a number of times until it unlocks your belief systems. And so the more and more you see this happening, the more it is unlocking the potentials to instantaneous manifestation, which, get this, we've all been programmed to believe in instantaneous manifestation because of the story of Jesus Christ. So that man was able to feed how many people with a barrel of fish that never ended? So that's instantaneous manifestation. We all heard that story when we were kids. So it's like, it's in our minds, it's in our psyche. And so you just have to believe that you have the ability. As I do these things, you shall do them. That's what my mom says. And so that's a part in the Bible. And so we are doing these things now. And the solar energetics is allowing us to tune into the higher frequency range. So it works all hand in hand with the zodiac. There's more to that story than we've been told. That's what I believe. Yeah. Why do crystals break sometimes? Yeah, so that's a great question. And so depending on the crystal, but a lot of times, let's say, for example, you pull a dark crystal. So like a numite or a nimite, right? So it's black, and black, it absorbs all the energy. So if you have dark energy on you, the crystal is going to suck it all in. This is also a manifestation crystal. And so anyone using numite, very important. You can only use it for a little while because it's so dark, it grounds you into the physical reality. But let's say, for an example, you're trying to start a business. All of a sudden, everything you need, the website will come to you, this will come to you, all these different platforms will come to you. And when you link them all together, now you're able to have a full-blown business. This is the crystal I use to do that with this, right? So I put together Restream and all sorts of apps to video services and Facebooks and websites, and I use this crystal. So if you are holding density in your energetics, it's not going to help you manifest to that level. What it's going to do is it's going to pull the density out of you, and it's going to shatter. When it shatters, that means the crystal is indicating to everyone, I've taken in too much density. You need to put me back inside Mother Earth, because the crystal needs to heal. And so what we do when it cracks in half, and I've had a rose quartz around my neck. And when my daughter was a toddler, she took it and she cracked it on the concrete and it shattered. And so that crystal was protecting her because she needed more love. And so let's say, for example, there was a shade blocking her heart from an emotion code. That crystal would pull that shade out and it would snap it, and it would bring her more love by removing the density. That's how crystals work. And so I know someone who has seen, they own a crystal shop in New York. And so they claim to have seen someone who walked in, picked up a crystal, and the crystal exploded everywhere. And so these things do happen, and you don't have to drop them, right? They can just automatically crumble and just break. And so crystals have a mind of their own, which is absolutely amazing. And so we haven't even touched into quasi crystals, which are 4D crystals, but crystals have a mind of their own. So if you take a regular crystal, each one of the points is able to be programmed. So you can stick 6 different manifestations in this crystal. And so, but depending on the swirl inside, if it's going clockwise, right? Like the earth rotation, that's feminine. If it's going counterclockwise, it's a masculine. And so you can tell the crystal's sex by which spiral is going left or right. Some of the crystals have both, and so they are both. Now you have to realize inside the human form, you have the feminine energetics on your left-hand side, which are magnetic in their nature, and you have the chi energy, which is masculine, which is electrical in its nature. And so different crystals are holding on to feminine and masculine energetics. And so when you tune into different crystals, if you have a masculine energetic, you need to look into the crystal and see if it's a counterclockwise rotation spiral. If it's counterclockwise, which means it's going up in a counterclockwise, or if it's going up in a clockwise. And so you can tell by just looking inside of it. Yeah. And when you do that, it'll start to balance that energy in your human form that has the distortion. Because normally, a lot of times when one is off, it throws the other one out of balance. Now, those two energies, the masculine and feminine, this is what the medical professionals use as their symbol. So you'll notice two snakes rising up a staff. The staff is actually the Kundalini channels in the inside of your physical form. And so we have a light Kundalini channel, and it's surrounded by darkness, and light is always birthed in darkness. And so when human beings are in the womb, we are in darkness. Your brain is in darkness. And so we just sense the physical reality, and it gets, figured out inside the brain. But this is how the Kundalini channels work. The light is in the dark, and then all of a sudden it goes up and down. That's the rod. That's the pole in the medical image. And then the masculine and feminine energetics, they intertwine. Now they show them like this, like the serpent coming in and out. That's not how they go. They go more like a DNA strand. So it vortexes up in a circle. It's circular in its nature. And so that's how it goes inside your physical form too. But that's a 3D image. They didn't know how to do a 3D image back then. So what did they do? They just crisscrossed them. They did it 2D. There was no other way. And so now we understand what it is. We know it's a vortex of energetic. And so that's how the frequency healing devices in the future are going to work. They are not just going to be a single frequency tone. They are going to be a vortex, the star people say. And so what does that mean? That means it's going to beam 3 different frequencies at the person in a vortex shape at once. And so when you accept the coding of 3 different frequencies, say 3 different frequencies for your kidney, then all of a sudden it will bring the kidney into peace and cohesion, and it will instantaneously heal the physical body. And so that is the technology that star people have. They could do that now. Hi from the UK. Welcome. Why did Christmas break? The Gospel of Thomas teaching as well. I've never read the Gospel of Thomas. I did go to Catholic school, but I was like a revolt. I was like, I'm not doing this. And I stared out the window, and I was a very adamant, when we're going to take over the world person as a child. So I've calmed down a little now. It is what it is. Yeah. So, okay. So let me see. Okay. So we had one question come into the website. And so it was, I sat in meditation by a tree. The next day, mushrooms appeared right where I was sitting. Why did that happen? And so that's funny because we were just diving into the vortex energetic. And so that energy that generates that masculine and feminine energy vortex inside your body, when you meditate, it amplifies that energy. So it kind of works like a magnet. One is going up, one is going down. The feminine one is coming down. That's magnetic in nature. And your chi energetics is electrical, is going up. So, but it's spiraling in a vortex and goes up and it goes down. And so when it does this, then all of a sudden you have to realize that Mother Earth feels this energy. She feels your connection. We're so connected into this planet. We have no idea. Right. And so there's just no idea. You can ask Mother Earth for a healing plant and she will manifest it for you wherever you are. It'll just fall at your feet. And so when you are doing meditations and you are sitting on the earth, you are generating that vortex type of energetic, then all of a sudden it's raising all of the minerals out of the earth. Now, this is also how the earth springs work. So if you've ever seen the water comes up in a spring and that water is mineral rich, that's the same exact thing. And so when mushrooms are the same thing, because they are all the minerals from the ground. When that location has had too many minerals, then all of a sudden it comes up and it distributes a mushroom. And so the trees as well. The tree will suck up all the minerals, and when it's had enough, it allows a mushroom to form, getting rid of the extra minerals. I found this on the web. And so Siri had input on that. Yeah, so when we come along and we eat a tree mushroom, then all of a sudden it's no wonder that that's the number one cure for our bodies. And so when you know that that's a cure, then all of a sudden you start eating the mushrooms and you start feeling a whole lot better. And so there is also a spiritual connection that we can have with the mushroom kingdom itself. The mushroom kingdom is fully connected underneath the earth's surface. And so it makes like a web. And if you saw the electrical impulses that go in the web, it's like a spider web, but like 10 times more than what a spider web is. And it interconnects all underneath the ground. And so this is how they're able to yank the extra minerals and form a mushroom wherever need be. And so it's just absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Like when we start to realize the science and how connected everything is, and we start realizing, no, we're disconnected because we're putting the shoes on our feet, right? Then all of a sudden you want to kick your shoes off. I actually really want someone to make copper infused soles for the bottom of the shoe. And so just blend it in somehow, make it so that, you know, my energy can fully connect and I don't have to do anything funny, right? This way, every time I walk outside, I want to be connected. It's not just when I'm taking my shoes off. What if it's snowing, right? So we want to always be connected. So I know that they do have some things that like I have straps that go around the shoe and it goes in the sock and it connects with copper. That's like a pain in the butt. No one wants to do that. No one has time for that. And then you come in the house, you got to take your shoes off and in and out. No, they need to just fix the shoes or put it so it's like a leather, right? Not that I'm totally, you know, I don't like killing animals, but figure something out so that we're grounded and connected. Use metal. It's better. Yeah. Are you saying ask Mother Earth for a manifestation to occur increases the chances? Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. And not only that, but you don't even have to ask her. And so biological fluidity, so your saliva, all of your fluids of the human form, when you just give it to Mother Earth knows what you need to heal. And so, and this is going to be the future of farming because each person is going to want to have their own independent plants. Those plants should be directly connected into the earth, not hydroponics. They should be connected into the earth so that they can pull earth minerals. Or if you're doing hydroponics, the star people are actually saying algae, because some algae contain every single earth mineral that the human form needs. So when you are adding your genetics, your material, your fluids onto these plants, the plant then starts to identify you. Now, specifically, the more times that you tell the plant you love it and you speak to it and you have telepathy and you have an open heart for the plant, it's going to form an energetic cord with that plant. The plant is going to grow 10 times the original size just because you were nice and kind to it and you loved it. We can see that this happens scientifically. It's not woo-woo magic. And so the more times you do this, you give it your DNA, it starts reading the DNA. And so it's like, okay, I'm going to pull all these minerals in because that's what my human needs. Sucking them all in. Then when it grows the fruit and you eat the fruit, you are getting all the nutrients that you need to heal. And so, yeah, most fruits show the toroidal field. Yes, that's correct. And that's why we say the apple is number one, because you can actually see the toroidal field in the center of an apple. And so any fruits that have that sacred geometry built into it, it's built into everything. But when it's very, very prominent, of course, they're going to be more scientifically sound. And so when you eat food that is scientifically sound or it's tuned to a proper frequency, then all of a sudden it starts to heal the body at rapid rates. What's the grounding sheets you have mentioned before? Earth grounding sheets. And so it's like a sheet that you put on the bed and it has copper or metal built into it. So it's still a sheet. It's still soft and flexible, but it has metal built in. And then you plug it into the outlet, but it's a little round piece of the outlet. And so that's the earth ground because each outlet has a ground and then it connects outside into the earth. And so, yeah, that's your house is grounded. Yeah. So when you put your sheets, remember that you're going to be sleeping on it for 8 hours throughout the night. And so that's really going to start the anti-inflammatory process in the body. Anyone sick, cancer, anything funky going on, you should be earth grounded. Definitely. After 2 hours, it's reducing inflammation. Cancer caused by inflammation. So that right then and there, that's the number one thing I would do. This is also why when you guys hear stories of people getting stage 4 cancers, they sell everything, they go down to the beach, they're earth grounding all day. And so, 6 months, they go back and they're clean. There's no cancer. And so they're laughing, they're changing their location codes, and they're becoming more joyful and blissful, and they're grounding to the earth, which is reducing their inflammation. So anybody who's sick, you have to change the location codes immediately. That's number one, because that's going to make the big difference in your life. Now, take a look at bacteria. Bacteria, you swab it on a little disc. You have to put it in moist, hot areas. And so then the bacteria will grow. Well, what happens if you put bacteria in a freezer? It's not going to grow. And so your location code is the same exact. Because if you put a human being in a toxic location, that human being is not going to flourish. It's going to be too much stress. What actually is happening during that process is your fight or flight systems fire up. And then because you're always in stress and anxiety, you don't have the peace that your body needs to fully regenerate and heal. And so when you start to activate your fight or flight systems and you start to really calm it down, you could just feel love, joy, and bliss run inside your body. You can feel when your heart chakra opens. It's like your chest opens like this. And so I never thought I'd be doing that on a video, but your chest opens. And so you can feel the energy pulling from inside of you. And so just imagine, like, because I see a Care Bear stare. When the Care Bears used to throw light out of their bellies, it's actually from your heart chakra, though. And so when a mother hugs her child and pushes the head right on her chest, that heartbeat is sending an emotion, it's sending an energetic into the child's head, which then in turn goes to calm and soothe and deactivate the fight or flight systems. Now, when an adult does it and you are doing heart hugs, then all of a sudden you're recharging each other's energetic grids. And so there's certain techniques that you can do. You got to take your glasses off because the light ions, they don't go through glass. And it's, they put the UV material in all of the windows, even the cars. And so we want to get the UV because the UV changes the way that we think. It's directly connected into the consciousness, which is why the ancient Egyptians knew this. Those people walked around half naked, and they did that for a reason. It wasn't because of anything weird. It was because they wanted to absorb as much of the solar energetics as they possibly could. Yeah, Northern Canada does not allow for sunshine, vitamin D, or earthing for about that's why you have to get the blanket, right? So you get the earthing sheet, and so you put that. It's only like $30 on Amazon, and then you plug it into your ground in the outlet. Hopefully, you guys have the same outlets as us. I'm not sure. And then and you're grounded. If you don't have the same outlet, you could take a piece of metal, like if you wanted to home make it, right? And so we can go to Home Depot. And we can go get metal tape that's very flexible and comfortable to sit on. And so you put a couple lines on the bed, you crisscross them, you take it and you tape it to like a speaker wire. And you take that speaker wire and you run it out your window and you push it into the ground because it's metal. And that metal is going to connect, it's going to ground to the earth, and then it's going to ground into the metal on the bed. So there are ways of doing this on a budget. So you do not have to go and spend $30. You could do it cheap. You could spend $5. And then not only that, but see how you feel, right? Because at one point I was a cripple. And so I would have done anything to take away my pain. And so if someone would have told me back then I could lay on the ground for 2 hours and I could feel better, I would have slept outside. That's how much pain I was in. So some people, like, this could be the cure that they need to change their entire life. You don't know how your pain can change too, by the way, to get into this topic, because 12 years I was in pain. It was horrible. And then all of a sudden it only took 2.5 weeks for it to completely be gone. So if it's completely gone in 2.5 weeks, that means anyone can do it. If people go to the beach and cure cancer, anyone can do it. And so but it takes empowerment, right? You have to make up your mind that you want to be happy. And so you have to release your old life, that old way of living, that old disease, old injury, you release it. And you step onto the timeline in which you are determined to heal yourself. And it is that determination is a form of willpower. There's a reason why we use the word willpower, because if you set your mind to a goal, then all of a sudden you can achieve that goal at any cost. And so it's always a positive, though. And so when you take it into that consideration, think about all the people who wanted to be spacemen. And then all of a sudden they were told no by so many people. No, you can't do that. Oh, the odds of you doing that, you should get a college education, do this, right? But those people believed, and because they believed, it manifested for them. And so if you believe that you can heal yourself, there will always be a way. Something will happen. God will give you something, or Mother Earth will give you something, or you will be pushed or guided along a whole healing journey. And then all of a sudden, you'll notice that the old version of you was released, and now you are a new version of yourself, and you are healed. And so each and every one of us can do this. And not only that, this is also what Reiki healing is. And so many people, they come in and they send energetics, chi energetics, utilized with the magnetic, because you have to open your heart. You have to love the person. The more that Reiki healer is capable of love and like unconditional, selfless love. They love you just because you are you, even if you are broken. And so that's a person that you want to do Reiki on you, because their energetics is going to be much stronger. And so when you have them and they're doing energetic clearing on you in your highest and best, is your choice always to either accept the energy or reject it. And so this energy is just love. That's all it is. Very simply. And all of us can do it. And so, but it's projection of love. It's imagining that you can take your love and it turns it into a white light and you can cast it at people, which we can do. We can see it scientifically. And so when you start to do this, and you can do it on each other. If you're a husband and wife, each of you should be doing this on each other. And so just keep practicing and doing it, because it's going to heal you and it's going to change your entire life. And so I didn't have anyone to do it on me when I was doing my healing. And so the star people had me taking my hands and doing it to myself. Right. And so you can do that too. You can even do that in, the privacy of your own home, so no one sees you. So you can take your hands, you can go over the entire physical body, which they actually say to do anyway when you have attachments. And so we do an entire attachment release. Attachments are lower vibrational entities that latch onto your energetic grids, and they feed off of your energy, or they trigger lower vibrational thoughts. And so those thoughts can be anything that you think is your voice in your mind, and it's telling you things like, oh, your value, or maybe you feel ugly, or you feel something, or whatever traumas that you guys are going through. Everyone has traumas. Everyone has negative self-talk. And so that self-talk is not necessarily yours. And so just be aware of that, because I've identified every time they talk to me, now I talk back to them and then they leave. Right. So the more and more, and even if you want to just consider this, you're just dealing with the emotion code. Right. So you just have a thought in your head. So talk to that thought. Right. Tell that thought, get off of me, go home. And then you're going to start to notice that thought leaves. And so it doesn't come back. And so now you have a different negative thought. Tell it to get off and go home. When you are done doing that, you are supposed to go through, rub your hands, clap your hands 3 times, and then go over your entire physical form. When an attachment latches onto your energetic grids, it makes a form of a paper cut. That paper cut, the next attachment in the civilization, they could see the paper cut. And so a similar attachment or vibrational entity will come and latch onto you right at that moment. When you start doing the Reiki healing, you start, thank you for healing all the paper cuts. And then usually the star people always tell me, as soon as you do an attachment release, get in the shower, use salt water, because it's going to cleanse and purify your emotional energetic grid, which is important, because the attachments, they're triggering your thoughts, they're triggering your emotions. So when you start to take control of your energetics and how you feel and what thoughts are in your mind and how if your body feels achy or tired, right? So we're gonna focus on ourselves. If we wake up and we feel achy and tired, we're gonna do 5 minutes. We're just gonna clear ourselves, clear our energy, maybe throw some sage up, right? And so we're taking control of our energetics. Now, when you take control of your energetics, your entire perception of the physical reality will shift. That's a fact. That's a scientific fact. Because the way that your perception works is that you can perceive in every single one of the primary chakras. So let's say, for an example, a person is always focused in the root chakra. They may be more focused on things like housing, cars, food, survival, basic needs, things like that. And so when your focus is in the sacral, it's relationships, building intimacy, friends. And so depending on where your everyday focus is depending on what level chakra that perception is activated on. And so when you start to go in and clear those out, it starts to make your perception of the physical reality shift, and it'll be much better, I promise you. People have been opening up and crying to me or revealing traumas to me lately. Can I walk them through the healing even if I'm new on this path? Yes, absolutely. You open your heart. You send people love. It's very simple. And so just imagine and just tell them, clap your hands and send light and love, and use the plant, because everyone knows the plant. When you talk nice to a plant or you play nice, polite music to a plant, then all of a sudden the plant grows more. So when you tell people that, they understand it. And so you tell them, by me sending you light and love from my hands, it's coming from my heart and my hands, then all of a sudden you're going to feel better. And just allow them to experience whatever it is that they experience. And so just allow it to happen naturally. Now, if they don't believe, and so a lot of physically focused people don't believe, then whip out a tuning fork. And so I have the 432 tuning fork. And so every time I'm with someone who's like, that's not real, you're just, hocus pocus, I'm like, oh, okay, I have a tuning fork. It's a frequency generator. That frequency generator can heal your physical form. And then what I do is I send light and love through the tuning fork as I'm doing the healing on them. And so it seems to work, right? And so you can even just take your heart and you can send someone love without doing all of the Reiki with your hands, because your hand chakras are just like a direction of the energy. That's how we cast in the physical reality. The truth of the matter is that your heart chakra is bigger than your hands. And so you can actually cast into your energetic grids, and you can actually raise the perimeter of your aura field. So the normal aura field is usually 6 feet. Mine has to go out to about 20 to 30. And so that's only on every day. When I'm focused on it, you can even cast it out for a couple of miles. And so each and every one of us can do this. It's nothing special. This is a human technique that we can do. And so you just place focus on your energetic grids. And then every day you do manifestations. Thank you for allowing my energetic grids to fully heal any and all people who come into contact with me. And so I have those manifestations set. Anytime I drive in a car and I'm on a highway, thank you for making all the people around me at a more peaceful frequency so that they can tune back and maybe slow down a little bit. And it works. And so your hearts become synchronized. Specifically when you're driving, the subconscious mind fires up. It's automatically a state of meditation, even though we don't consider it. So while you're driving and you're focused on the driving, your subconscious mind being activated, you send out your manifestations. Thank you for bringing peace to anyone who's around me. Now, the more and more that you do this, the more and more that you're going to start to become in alignment with the source frequency, because it's a love-based emotional frequency that you're going to be radiating constantly. When you become in alignment with the source frequency, then all of a sudden you're protected. And so I say this knowing this as a solid fact. You become protected. And so you'll be at the right place at the right time to avoid lower vibrational nonsense. And so if people are going to have a fight, for some reason, my intuition or the universe is just like, it's time for me to go. Someone will call me. I'm like, oh, I'll be back later. And then all of a sudden a fight will happen. And then I'll show up after the fight and everything is done. And so this happens the more and more you raise your frequency. This is also a product of ascending into 5D, because when you're in 5D, you're in this moment, and then you're in this moment, and then you're in this moment, and then you're in this moment. But the truth of the matter is that that's how we always operate. And the reason why that's important is because in this moment, I choose happiness and bliss. And so I'm going to experience happiness and bliss in this moment. And so in the next moment, I'm also choosing happiness and bliss. And so you'll start to magnetize only positive polarity. And so that means that it's like a divine alignment that puts you in like a path so that you are protected. So each and every one of us can start to do that. You have to do the shadow work. You have to release your traumas, your density, all that stuff. And you really have to be of service to other people, right? And so that's me. Like, I love people. I want to help people. Helping people makes me happy. I've had all this money. I've spent all this money. None of that crap makes me happy. And so now I don't want to be a millionaire. I don't need it, right? And so what I do need is I need people around me. I need people who want to have conversations like this, and people who want to be loving, caring, kind, and serving the collective. And so that's what I need. And yeah, it makes you amazing. I sent you a message on Facebook. Okay. Yeah, send me a message on Facebook and then I'll answer you. So we do that one privately. Yeah. Okay. So let's see. Let me take a sec. I hope everyone is having an amazing night, and I hope that your Thanksgiving was wonderful and blessed. Mine was amazing. Okay. Even though I don't eat meat, so I ate a salad and some cantaloupe. It was just tasty. Okay. The heart and tuning into bliss codes and the stones that form inside the physical body. So monks, they do meditations, and when they meditate, they actually raise their consciousness up, or their frequency, or their light body, or their soul, and they go and they tune into 5D frequencies of love, bliss, joy, peace, harmony, all these different emotion codes in the extremely high, like angel realms. And so the more and more you do that, it starts to have a crystallized effect on the human body. This is going to naturally happen to us when we evolve into 5D. The body naturally crystallizes. And so we can see the monks do this. Now, the reason why it happens in the heart is because your heart is what is love, joy, and bliss. That's where we connect that. That's the heart center. And so when they go up there to the very high frequencies, it starts a crystalline, it forms the soul stone. I do have a post about this on Facebook. It's called the soul stone. And so inside the heart, it's inside the physical heart, you're going to start to notice tiny little stones forming inside the heart. And it's the more and more that they connect into these frequencies, they can develop multiple stones. And so now they find these stones, and it's funny because you look at the Avengers movie, right? When they had to go and get the Soul Stone, they had to be a loss of life. And so when the monk dies, they burn it, right? And so they burn the body, and then they find the stones in the ash. So they are purified by fire. And then they find the stones. And so in that movie, it's a representation of the Soul Stone, is what that is. It's real. All of the stones are real, by the way. All of them. Every single one that they talk about, like the time stone, all that stuff is real. It's just an energetic encoded stone. We consider it a stone. It's not really a stone. It's something that each and every one of us has access to. And actually, the star people are saying right now, it's in your energetics. And so the second that you start manifesting it, it will encode into you. And so it was like a month ago, they told me a sin to deny stone. I needed that. So I went right on Amazon. I ordered it. It's a meteorite, right? They were like, that's not what that is. And I was like, okay. So then I have to wait. They unpack the information. And then all of a sudden, they're like, it's inside of you, because I wasn't getting it. I'm like, is there another stone? Is there another crystal? What do I need? And they're like, it's inside of you. And so they were like, it's to make wishes. And then right away, my mind went to, okay, well, I want to clean the ocean. I want to do this and this. And then they were like, no, that's not what you do. They're like, your job is to add love into it. Okay. So there's a stone inside of me I'm supposed to add love into. And then this is where the stone information came from. And it got unpacked. And as you go along the journey, more and more information is unpacked for us. And so this is my process of learning. And I'm sure that this is how you guys do it too, because you get information and then all of a sudden it unpacks. You get more and more and more as you go along. But they're saying it's the process of seeking that grants us more information. And so I don't stop seeking. When they tell me something, I'm like, what is it? I need to know, right? And so, yeah, the soul stone is inside of us. And so the more and more love you can encode inside yourself, the more it will crystallize your actual physical heart, which then in turn is going to allow an easier passage into 5D. And so just take your time and just place focus on that. It's extremely important. And so just imagine the monks knew about these stones. And so they were consciously trying to tune into the high frequencies, because they knew tuning into the high frequencies of love, joy, and bliss was how the stones manifested. But now what the star people are saying is, what if you place the focus on your heart and you just said, thank you for growing in my heart? Then all of a sudden it's automatically going to put you in alignment with having the love, joy, and bliss experiences without struggling so hard. Right? So you're focused on your heart, and all of a sudden it becomes a manifestation and it comes to you instead of you seeking it. So you can also do it that way. What about eating? Should we completely stop eating meat? Some people, if they stop eating meat, they start getting sick. And so you have to take that into your own hands. Me personally, I was sick. And so I was taking, it was a crazy time. I quit smoking. I was miserable. And so the star people were like, well, you're feeling kind of crummy because you're releasing all this stuff. And this was a while back. And so they were like, you should really eat some salad, because some salad would raise your frequency pretty quick. And then I started eating salad for weeks and weeks and weeks while I regained my strength. And that was a nightmare. And so, but I got through it, and I got through it very rapidly. And the switch happened in a day. I never looked back. And so I kept eating the salad. And then all of a sudden, if you stop interacting with meat products, and let me tell you something, someone comes along and let's say they cook a burger in your frying pan, and then all of a sudden you smell the frying pan after they had already cooked it and it's clean, then all of a sudden it doesn't smell like a burger to you because you haven't eaten it in a very long time. It smells like death. And so it's just like, I look at it now, I'm just like, oh, I can't eat that because it smells completely different to me now. Even they cooked the turkey in the house tonight, and I'm just like, it smells like meat. And it's like, I never thought I would say that because I love to eat meat, right? But I just don't do it anymore. I try not to do it. Sometimes if you do eat it, yeah, that's what that is. The smell makes you sick. Yeah. So, and that's like, I think that's just like your body's intuition telling you the meat is too low frequency for where you're at right now. And so you're meant to maintain. But if you become, and like there was one guy on Survivor. And so what happened to him? He was malnourished for how many weeks? And so his frequency dropped because he was in stress. He was in fight or flight mode, right? And so now he won one of the rewards, and the option was either rice and beans or chicken. And so right away he went for the chicken. And so the chicken, in that instance, it raised his frequency. It was something his body needed. And so you just have to know what level that you are at as an individual, because it's either going to raise your frequency, you'll be a frequency match to eating it, and you'll be fine. You'll be completely healthy. Most people are healthy. But then when you start really tuning into the higher love-based frequencies, then all of a sudden it can drop you down. And so, yeah, even eating like a calzone, right? And so it's not so much as a cheese, I hope, but it's like the bread and all the chemicals and stuff that they put into the bread. And when you start eating salads and you eat some of that, you'll feel sluggish and tired and bloated. And, so you really have to watch your body signs and just learn your body. Now, once again, the best way to learn your body is to write it down because, I've had issues with my memory to a degree where I had Alzheimer's back in 2012. And so for about 6 months, I was unable to communicate with anyone. So I sat in a chair and I just couldn't talk. By the time you guys would say a sentence, I would forget the sentence and I wouldn't be able to answer back. And so I healed all that using monoatomic gold. I used Energold. So the guy sells that on Amazon. So I still use it today. And so what gold does is it actually is a superconductor for electrical. And so your brainwave patterns are electrical. So anyone who needs to heal the brain, that's how I did it. And so I used Energold is a particular brand. And so, but that brand is made from real gold. It's not made from sea salt like the rest of the brands. So that brand just worked for me. Breatharianism, yes. Yeah, absolutely. And so there's a chakra on the top of the head back here, and you'll notice that the babies are born with it, and it's like a little spiral. And so we're supposed to be breathing prana inside there. And so if you have a look at the Kundalini channels, the star people are saying the primary channel that goes up and down, it has light matter and dark matter. And so that is directly tied into that back chakra because you're going to pull the ether into there. Now, sun gazing is great too. And so once again, you guys each have to try these things at your own rate. And so I know for me, some things I'll try and then I'm like, okay, that's great. But when I'm ready to put my heart into it, that's it. It's fully on. And so it's 2 different ways of doing it. The sun gazing, when you do the sun gazing for about 45 to 60 days, it changes the digestive motions of the physical form. And so you digest things completely different. It shifts the energy, everything absorbs differently. And it's kind of like, that's the way that we used to work. And so where we've seen that in the movie, The City of Angels, I believe Nicolas Cage was in that one. And the angels would always go to the beach and watch the sunrise and sunset every single day. That is sun gazing. And so the sun, the UV from the sun, we're able to actually stare straight at it without the glasses. And when you do this within the first hour of the morning, sunrise and sunset, the last hour before the sun goes down, then all of a sudden you're getting that UV in and it's actually recharging the pineal gland. When the pineal gland recharges, then all of a sudden you're able to, especially if you do this during sunset, right? So you're recharging your pineal and then go right into meditation once it becomes dark. Go into. Now, there's also a lot of things that you can do inside your own home that will start to activate the pineal gland. So one such thing is, and I know this is drastic, look, I have really big windows here. They're really, really tall. But if you cover them and you let zero light in your house, you unplug all the electricity, and not in your house, in your bedroom, wherever it is you're going to sleep, you want zero light. And you turn off all the noise. So unplug everything, shut the electricity off in the room if you can. And so not having a speck of light, it changes your pineal gland and it starts to actually do a rapid healing on the body. Because when we have all this light, you have to realize that every single light is a frequency. That frequency, even though we can't see it, right? Let's say it's the Wi-Fi blinky thing over there, right? So we don't see it when we're in bed sleeping. It's so tiny, it's in the corner. But all of a sudden, that light is emitting a frequency into the room, which is having an effect on our energetic grid structure. And so if you can just eliminate all of that and eliminate any pollution, light pollution from the outside, because there's street lights. And so it also is a fast way, the star people are saying, to reset the circadian rhythm, which is your sleep cycles. And so, yeah, a dark closet. How can you sleep in a dark closet, though? Unless you can wheel a mattress cot in there or something. Yeah. I took Ormus for a few years. It's amazing. It absolutely is. And you know what is funny? Because when I stopped taking it, it's like I start getting a little slower. So I'm like, oh, man, I need the Ormus. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, moving into eating more ether. Yes, we're already doing that. So the more and more, and this happens naturally, the star people are saying, but the more and more that you start becoming of the love-based frequencies, doing the shadow work, releasing the density from your energetics, you're automatically going to be pulling in more ether because you're going to need more energy in order to fully exist in your day. And so you have to remember, too, the amount of time that you experience is how much you age during a day. Time space does not work the way that we've been told. And so when you experience, let's say you had an hour, right? We all have an hour here. And so we had an hour here, right? We had 49:49. So that's a synchronicity for tonight's live, 49:49. And so we had 49 minutes and 49 seconds. And so did it feel like 49 minutes flew by since the moment that I started talking? Probably not, because for me, I feel like I've been doing this maybe 10, 15 minutes. And so the time space seems to go more rapidly when it's a high frequency. And so this is natural. This is normal. When you're really happy, time flies. Your body will only age according to how much time you have experienced. So it's important for us to try and keep experiencing, like I wake up in the morning, it feels like an hour went by. Now it's time for bed, right? That's how we want to live. That's 5D. That's when you know that you're tuning into those frequencies. When your whole day goes super, super fast. And then all of a sudden, you are anti-aging the body through that process. Yeah. Oh, you're welcome. I will always answer the questions. I don't know what I try not to read. Sometimes the comments throw me off because then I start reading and it kind of breaks the channeling. That's why sometimes I like someone to read the comments to me so I can just be like, oh, they say this, right? Or I take the questions and then I try and read the questions. Yeah. Okay. Heart bliss comes. Crystalline changes to the biological form. Yeah, that happens. So your physical form starts to crystallize in its nature. And so that is a sign that you are tuning into 5D. This is going to happen automatically with the solar flash, the star people are saying. And so it's going to change the biological form. Think of it like the shapeshifter ability, except it's activating the crystalline DNA 12-strand system that's inside your biologics. So your DNA in the blood. So there's 12 strands of crystalline DNA that becomes activated. It's not every single codon in the DNA, they're saying. You have attunements. And this is the reason why during my sessions, they tell people their attunements. And so it's very rare, but sometimes people are like, why do I want to know that? You need to know what you're attuned to, because whatever extrasensory gift that you are magnetically attuned to, it is going to change the way that your physical form crystallizes, they are saying. And so I didn't even know that until this second, but they're saying it's going to change. Now, just imagine for 1 second that you have an energetic grid. If you have an attunement in the root chakra, that root chakra is going to be more magnetically in a line to become evolved first, they're saying. And so it's basically like an activation of that ability first, which then in turn allows you to place more focus on that ability, because each and every ability is going to be allowed to level up times 3. So it's a 3rd degree. So just imagine beginner, intermediary, and advanced. And so when we have a look at each ability, and I'm a sworn believer in that, because let me tell you, when I first started doing the sessions with people and tuning into people's energies, the way that I was able to pull information out of their energetics, it was like a beginner. And now I'm pulling information out of their energetics before I even look at their name on the computer. And I'm like, oh man, they have this and this and this. And then all of a sudden I sit down, I close my eyes, and it comes out very rapidly. And it's like a ton of information about them and their star families and all this stuff. Okay, I felt this time warp with my ADHD, ADD. ADD is a gift. And so this was also today's topics. And so ADD is the ability to see multiple items. So let's say, for an example, you see this, then you see this. Your mind is focusing. Now, I've experienced that too. I've healed it. And I continuously will say that to every single disease that I have ever experienced. I healed it, right? Because the more and more you say that, it will manifest. So even if it's not fully healed, it's okay to say, I have healed it. You're not lying. So if you don't feel comfortable saying that to people, sometimes we drop in the words usa, usa, usa on the end. Now, the word usa is a martial arts term, which means it is done. And so it's just a good practice. So you want to watch what words you say, because they do manifest in a higher frequency range. And so if you're continuously walking around saying, I'm tired, then all of a sudden you're going to find yourself with the lack of energy. And this is what positive affirmations are, right? Today I am brilliant. And that's the first card I picked. And so, yeah, today I am brilliant. And so when you speak positivity, then all of a sudden it changes your energetic grids, which changes the focus of your manifestation, and it changes what comes into your physical reality. And so it is okay to say, I am healed. Usa, usa, usa. right? And so just do it for your own well-being. People will have to just understand it. Hey, I'm learning to speak positively, and I'm going to do this for the rest of my life because it makes me feel better. And if it makes me feel better and it's not hurting anyone, then that's it. That's how I'm going to live, right? That's it. If anyone says anything negative about it, that's just because they don't understand their true potential and power. And so you shouldn't even worry about them. You should just continuously focus on yourself, because in turn, you are the one manifesting your experiences that you need to have so that you can grow and evolve. And so what does that mean? Every person that you have an interaction with is a mirror reflection of an experience that you needed to have, because you either needed to be shown something. So a lot of times the law of polarity will come in play, because you need to experience every experience by both being the witness and being the one who does it. And so whatever experiences that you have manifested into your life, those are the ones you're always going to see them from another perspective. And so I've seen this over and over in my life, where I go through something and then I see someone else do it. And I'm like, oh, I've done that before, right? And this is how I got out of it. And then you try and help. And so, but that's the law of polarity. And so, but the law of polarity is also darkness and light. And so you'll experience the darkness of the experience as well. Think of it as an X, they're saying. So this two different perspectives of one experience. You experience the darkness of it, you'll experience the light. Now, anytime we experience darkness, we go and we cast the light on top of it and it heals it, right? And so your Kundalini channel is the light covered by the darkness. It's an X, they're saying. We'll understand that in time, because I have to write that down and like sit with it, because I don't really, yeah. Can I ask the star people about my attachments? Thank you so much for this video. Thank you for coming. The attachments I really don't get into on a live, because when I tune into people's energetics, I can feel their distortions. So if you have a headache, I can feel it. If you have a broken ankle, I could feel it. The one time the lady gave me a headache, it lasted 24 hours. And then I was like, why? Why did this happen? And it was something that I was meant to learn to overcome. And so sometimes things like that are allowed. And so it makes you stronger every time. And then not only that, but going through, and many people, especially the elite light workers, which many of you guys watching are, elite only means extra light. And so we are extra light because we came here with a higher frequency in order to save the planet. That's elite light workers. And so I have a post on that on my Facebook. When you came here to hold that extra light frequency, then all of a sudden, many of us came to walk through darkness after darkness after darkness. And there's a lot of ancestral karma that we walk through too as well. But we have this magical ability to go healed, healed, healed. I forgive you. I forgive you. I love you. I love you. Right. And so you heal all this stuff and you do it very, very rapidly compared to a normal Terran soul. They're saying Terran is a word for human. And so human is like a manipulated word. You, man, you're only a man. You're not only a man. Terran is the actual name of this planet. And so, or Mother Gaia Sophia, but that's her name as a consciousness. Terran is what the extraterrestrials call us. And so anyway, long story. But yeah, when you start to go inside, you start to heal yourself. And it's the Ascended Masters, basically, it's the elite light worker. Same thing. These are all the same words for the same people. Right. And so your soul came here and you guys have experienced a darkness of darkness. And you did it because you knew you could transmute it very rapidly. And so those people, now you're taking the darkness, healing it with light, because when you heal your body, you have to send it love and light. Right. When you have something dark in your life, you have to send it love and light. Either way you're doing this, you're sending that love. And then all of a sudden it allows that to cross cancel. And it actually opens one of the chakra points above your head, which then in turn, when you deal with all 12 of the lower vibrational emotions and all 12 of the higher vibrational emotions, the law of polarity unlocks that 12-point Merkaba field. And then it allows access into the 5D realms. And so this is exactly what some of the monks are doing. This is why the star people are saying, the stones, the soul stone inside of the heart, they're saying that each one of those tiny little stones is one of those pyramids that they unlocked. And so that's one emotion code. So they had to feel greed, and then they had to feel abundance. It cross canceled, it unlocked. And then they were able to absorb that 5D frequency coding, which then allowed for the manifestation of the soul stone, because there's many soul stones. It's not just one or two, it's 12, they're saying. We got to write that down. Yeah. Excellent. How do I save and share this video? There are people I think need to hear this. Yeah, well, I'm actually on YouTube as well. So treeoflifeorganization.com. That's my Facebook page. And Tree of Life Organization on YouTube. So you can actually go into the Tree of Life Organization page on YouTube and go under live. And then all the videos that I do live are right there. Yeah, excellent. Thank you guys for coming. You guys are just amazing. Yes, principle number 4, gender. I don't know what that is. You can maybe have to explain a little more. I love the elite light work. Me too. That's one of my favorites. And occasionally I'll have people come up and they're like, can you repost the elite light worker post? Because it just resonates and you get all tingly in it. It just gets your emotions and you're like, okay, we're going through all this trauma and nonsense. And it's like, this is why we're here. So it kind of makes it a little bit better and okay. Right. And so, and just to know that we're not alone. And so that's a big thing too, because a lot of starseeds, they have felt alone during this life. And so we're not alone. We're together and we have help. We have support. Not only that, we have rock star support, right? And so we are with tons and tons of extraterrestrials who are guiding and assisting us because we came here with their blessing. And so even if you feel like you mess everything up in your life, they are coming because they are coming to help and guide each and every one of us. And you better believe that they know exactly who you are, even if you don't know who they are. So they know us. We are part of their clan, their family. Yeah. Yeah. See? Saying prayers of peace every day. Every day I want to see a new earth. Every day. And I make this a mantra too. Every day I wake up and there's peace on earth. And so I don't wish for it. I manifest it. Thank you for giving us peace on earth. Thank you for healing our planet. And so I've seen so much chaos in the civilization and we used to focus on it, right? Because watch the news and, oh my God, we're all going to die. And then finally one day I was like, I'm done. I put it all aside and I was like, today there's peace on earth. And so I make it a mantra. Now, every single time I leave my door, even when I'm in my house all day, when I leave my door, there's peace in my earth. There's peace in my reality. And so people will hold the door open for me. They'll be nice. They'll help. I'll help them. It's an amazing reality. And so this is what the star people say. You have to be the shift that you wish to see in your world. Because when you shift your emotion, your frequency, then all of a sudden you're shifting into a parallel reality in which you are more in alignment with peace, love, harmony, and bliss existing in your world. The more and more that you experience peace and love in your world, even though it's a 3D, the more you experience this, the more it's going to manifest. And so it's like deactivation of the fight or flight systems. Now, your fight or flight systems is very important. It's important to learn how to activate it and how to deactivate it. And the reason for that is because many times we can activate the extrasensory abilities by activating the fight or flight systems. So what I have done, I started off doing Wim Hof, the breath work. And so he's the Iceman. So he's figured out, and he read ancient texts. That's where he got this information from. And so he figured out, take 30 deep breaths in and out, really deep belly breaths, right? Really like, and blow out a little bit more than you pull in. And then after 30, you hold your breath. So when you do that, the first time I ever did it, I was vacuuming my floor and I was like, this guy's crazy. I'm going to try it anyway. And so I did it. And all of a sudden the entire room shifted and I was like, what the hell just happened? Right. And then after the minute, I was like, I was a smoker at the time. I have never been able to hold my breath that long in my life. And then that was it. It was on. I started doing it all the time. And so when it was coming close to my time to quit smoking, I started noticing like tingles in my fingers and feeling like I was always cold. And like, so I was getting signs that, hey, you need to stop this. Right. And so that's exactly what I did. I started doing the breath work. And then all of a sudden, all of those signs went away. Now, I've also dealt with Raynaud's disease. And so Raynaud's disease is when your fingers get really cold. And so your fingers will turn white when it's very cold outside. But it wasn't even that cold outside. It was like fall. And my fingers just turned white. And so I started doing the breath work. Now, it's funny because when you do the breath work, all of a sudden it's balancing your pH levels as well as your oxygen levels. And so when those two things are balanced, then your body starts to come into cohesion. And then all of a sudden disease cannot exist. And so that's one point. Now, when you learn the perception, because you're going to see your perception is going to ever so slightly shift when you're holding your breath, then all of a sudden that's how I also learned to, oh, okay, so this is what it feels like. So let me just sit here and let me see if I can pull my perception back from the physical reality. And so when you do that, then all of a sudden your consciousness pulls back you could feel your heart rate go back too. So your heart rate is going back with the consciousness. And then all of a sudden, you're able to switch or make changes to the perception of the external reality that you see. And so each and every one of us can do this. You just have to try and believe and keep doing it. It's not going to happen overnight for many of you. Some of you, it might. One lady this past week, the star people told her to bend a spoon. And I don't like telling people stuff like that, but they were like, tell her to bend a spoon. And I was like, they said, you have to bend a spoon. And then automatically she went and it bent. And then she's done it like 5 times now. And then so I put a post on Facebook and I was like, one of my session ladies, she bent the spoon. And then she commented down below. She's like, yeah, that was me. So, and there's pictures of the spoon. Like, so each and every one of us can do, I'm telling all of you right now, go try and bend a spoon. Make sure it is a crappy spoon. So if you have nice silverware, go to the dollar store and get yourself some crummy spoons and silverware and try and bend them, right? It's not the spoon that bends. The spoon doesn't bend. That's impossible. It's a frequency inside of you. So you are bending your frequency, which then in turn is shifting you into a parallel reality in which the spoon was already bent. But you are perceiving a warp in time space, which makes it seem like the spoon bends in real time. Yeah. I held fireworks in my hands as a kid. I developed chef hands. So I used to be able to touch really, really hot things straight out of the frying pan and I was fine. And so everyone else would look at me and they're like, how are you doing that? I'm like, it just doesn't hurt. Yeah. So, and people walk on coals, they walk on fire, right? So these things are real, emotionally homeless. I am so incredibly sorry that you are experiencing that. I know what it's like because I went through a shift in my life very similar, except I had so much fun and the shift was over too quick. So the more fun that you have while you're going through trauma, the quicker it shifts out and then the quicker you become of a higher frequency. So, and it's the hardest thing for people to do is to laugh. So when you are experiencing any sort of trauma in your life, you are very encouraged to laugh. And so there's comedians and comedy and skits and all sorts of things that we can listen to make us laugh, even if we're experiencing trauma. And so it's just one joke. Just try and do it for 1 minute. And so raising people's frequency has a lot to do with how do you feel? And so how do you feel always comes into place. And so, yeah, so how do you feel comes into place. And I used to always look at that from like a disgust, like, oh, don't the shrinks say that? Like, no, I don't want to, that's crazy. But then it's like, oh, okay, wait a minute. There's a reason that they were taught to say that. And that's because your emotion codes is exactly what manifests everything that you see in the spiritual reality. So if you're having a disease, that's a feeling inside your body. If you are having, let's say your car broke down, that's a feeling. That's also an emotion code. It's an experiential as well as an emotion code. So those two go together because how did that experience make you feel? And so you have to start to learn and cultivate all of your emotions with your experiences. Now, you can even tune into the memory grid because when you start tuning into the memory grid, let's say you had a very fun, exciting memory. And so my memory, I always think of the time when my children were born. And so that was super fun, exciting, joyful, right? And just hugging them and smelling them and loving them. Then all of a sudden it changes my entire emotional resonance or oscillation. And so if you had, let's say you have someone with the power of sight. And so some people can actually see your energetic grids. They can see what color you're emitting. That color is your emotion coding. And so when someone takes a look at your energetics, all of a sudden they can see your emotions switch. So you might have been in green. No, you might have been in like yellow because you were creative or doing something. Or naturally, maybe you're naturally a yellow. And then all of a sudden you started thinking about a love-based emotion. And then all of a sudden your color flashed green. And so people can see this. This is true. Yeah. Does anyone have any questions? Yeah, you were at a spoon bending party. Wonderful. Yeah, excellent. Okay. Let me just take a sip. It's fruit punch. Okay. I am going to click it at like a little under an hour and a half because a lot of people said it's just too much information to go on and on and on about for 2 hours. So we're going to try and make these a little bit shorter for you guys because I can, all night with me. It's like, it's great. Okay. Can you say something about the dragons? They did try and contact me and I started ignoring them. So this was 8-9 months ago. And so then all of a sudden I started seeing dragons everywhere. The neighbor put a wind chime, it had a dragon on it. It was on TikTok. Then it was everywhere I was seeing. And then the people were showing up and the people were telling me, oh, what about the dragon? So they're doing exactly what you're doing now. And so what happens is many times when we have experiences, they're all reflections, right? And so you'll see it once, you'll see it twice, you'll see it 100 times. That means that the Dragon Collective is trying to make contact and communication with you. So when you start seeing repetitive signs and synchronicities, you really want to drop down into a meditation and ask why. Why am I seeing this? What do you guys have to tell me? Now, you have to realize that dragons are dinosaurs. Bottom line, they're dinosaurs. However, some of them are very highly intellectual beings. And so we know that the dolphins, those people, and I call them people, they're people, right? Even though we look at them like they're a fish and some people eat them, they are intellectuals. And so we can make contact and communication with dolphins. Dolphins actually assisted people in births. So if you were pregnant and you were about to have a baby, the dolphins would actually come up to the beach line. They would circle the mom. They would beam a solar energetic from their sonar. And so all of a sudden, the baby, the IQ was always higher when the dolphins did this too. But the mother experienced a birth that was less painful than your average birth. And the baby was born directly into water. And then all of a sudden, it was just less painful. And so everything went smoother. There wasn't like hours and hours of labor pains and all that. So it's just different. And so if the dolphins can take their butts all the way up to the shore and help you deliver a baby, they are intellectual. And so the government knows this because they put brainwave readers on the dolphins and started asking them questions. And then they started getting all sorts of answers back. And so we've also seen that depicted in television and movies. And so they showed us this everything is disclosed to humanity. And so what they do is they put it in the movie so that we don't realize it's real. However, take a look at the X-Files, right? Because the second I realized that they were encoding the information into the movies, I started rewatching everything with my eyes open. I was like, oh, I want to see. And so take a look at the X-Files movie. And every topic that you see on the X-Files, Google it, right? And Google it on DuckDuckGo, not Google. Google is censored. So take one of the topics. So someone was actually able to project a thought person, right? So I think I want to create a person, right? And so they were actually able to use their consciousness and project a person. And that person looked like a real person, but the mentality they said wasn't accurate. It was like not as intellectual as us. And so, but you know, it was a thought person. And so we've seen that in the X-Files. They had that, and then you research, and then all of a sudden it's true. And so they've also shown that, actually, they've shown that on The Magicians. That's another TV show. And so they built a body out of something, and they made it in life. And so that's a thought grid. So this is a holographic simulation. Whatever it is that you are using your conscious focus to manifest will manifest, whether it's positive or negative. And so this is many times our fears manifest. This is why we're being called to do the shadow work of releasing the fear. And so, yeah, it's just amazing. The season of the dragon changes with the equinox. I don't know much about that. So there's a lot. And not only that, but the star people are even saying the seasons are a holographic simulation of something that's coming from inside of you. So a lot of times everyone can be experiencing like snow, right? And so there was the first year I moved into Pennsylvania. My kids were little. There was no way they did not want to shovel snow. And so this was going back 3 years ago. And so I kept doing manifestations for no snow, no snow. We only had one light dusting that entire year. And I was like, yes, right? So the manifestations worked. I didn't have to shovel. My driveway is super long. And so, yeah, like anybody can do it. And so when you were told something like that, the season of the dragons changed with the equinox, just remember that your seasons can change at any given moment. And then not only that, but the seasons, we're going across we're going across solar. So our calendars are dictated by the sun. That's not the way that they're meant to be. That's a masculine energetic, right? And so when we start to go according to the moon, you will notice that the female cycle is 13. So you're supposed to get it 13 times a year. And so we're supposed to have 13 months. And if you took the calendar and you took 28 days, you would basically have 13 months with one extra day. That's just the way the calendar is supposed to roll. And so it makes more sense because then the seasons kind of, you know, they're just different. They're more different. Yeah. So that also is like a manipulation that needs to be done. And as well as the daylight savings time. See, so right now we pumped it back. So it's 6 o'clock in the morning, the sun's coming up to 6 o'clock at night. And so we're supposed to be 7 o'clock in the morning till 7 o'clock at night. And think about how many people go to work 9 to 5. And then all of a sudden they only have an hour of sunshine. why are we doing this? Like, they should have a little more sunshine when they get out of work. And so you kind of need the 2 hours. So yeah, it's just amazing. Stargate blew my mind, even Star Trek Voyager. The universe forced me to watch Star Trek Voyager when I was young. Forced me. Because we only had, back when I was, a kid, we only had channels 2, 5, 7, and 11. And so when I used to get off from work at 11 o'clock at night to 12 o'clock, the only thing on any of those channels was Star Trek Voyager. And so every single night we started watching. And so it became a ritual. There's nothing else on TV. We didn't have iPhone. We didn't have Netflix. We watched Star Trek Voyager. And then all of a sudden we started watching all that. And we're like, oh my God, that's cool. Right? So I need a replicator. I've been saying that for over 20 years. I need a replicator. Right? And so now I finally am at a period in my life where I'm like, oh my God, I'm working with extraterrestrials and they're telling me that replicators are real and that we don't even need the replicator because we can do it with our hands and we can do it with our bodies and our frequencies. So yeah, it's just amazing. Like being 9 months pregnant, but full term is 40 weeks. Yeah, that's another one. So, and like, if you check the pregnancy apps, right, like they are counting from like a month before. And so they're like, oh, the beginning stages of the egg, da 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 da. And it's like, you guys, that's totally a manipulation. Like you could totally see right through that. There is supposed to be 10 months to a pregnancy, not 9. So and think about the numerology behind that too, right? Because a pregnancy is like a beginning, right? It's a child's beginning, 1 and a 0. The cycle is complete for the mother and the beginning of the life is there. So that's 10 months. 9 is an end of a cycle. And so you only put a 9 if you want people to have like abortions. Oh, yeah. So that kind of makes sense. What about the negative inventions and technologies we all hear about is focusing on them, making them a reality? Yes. When I see these articles, I pray for a better world where it doesn't work. Yes. And you have to realize, and it took me a while to really come to terms with this too, but the negative technology, there is actually angels, guides, star people, star beings, multiple inner dimensions, extra dimensional people or beings. And so all of these people are like, you're not allowed to do that today. They tried to zombie virus us like 10 times and they kept getting shut down. And the angels stepped in. They're like, not today, not today, not today. Right. And so they tried to play with the nuclear. Right. There's the internet rumors, but then the star people came down and they shut down all the nuclear bases. They just turned them off. You guys can't use that. Right. And so that was even on Ancient Aliens, a TV show. And so we start to see, now you have to realize when they have negative technology, the first nuclear bomb that went off, yes, we'll allow it. Yes, we'll allow the testing, right? But then you got to a point where you took it too far and all of a sudden the extraterrestrials are like, they're not learning, they're not growing, they're not evolving or developing peacefully. We're just going to shut it down because now they're damaging the planet. And so we'll be allowed to learn and grow, but it's like if the kids got the fireworks and we're about to do something dangerous, they're shutting it down. And so I have complete faith in them at this point because I know CERN, right? And so the particle generator, how they want to snap the thing and open up a rift into the lower dimensions and yada, 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 yada. There's a god at CERN who's like an evil god, I think, right? And she's in like a circle with a bunch of hands and stuff. And so, yeah, so we are aware of that. But on the same point, they're not going to be allowed to do anything with it because you have to realize that you magnetize every single experience. If you are keeping your frequency very high, all of a sudden the negative things just won't happen in your experience. That means that you are shifting through parallel realities billions of times each second. And so when you are holding on to love inside your heart, it will always put you into a parallel reality in which you are protected. That's your divine alignment. And so step it up, love yourself, love every single person around you, give stuff away. And that's why I started the crystal package, because I wanted to give away my crystals and I wanted to bless them and put healing frequencies and all this stuff. And so this is what I'm doing, right? I'm giving it all away. And I came to a point where I donated 95% of everything in my house, right? I just gave it all away because the physical items are not going to make you happy. They're not. Money is not going to make you happy. That concept is out the window. A name brand car, it's not really going to make you happy, right? You may be happy and content with it for a little bit. Everyone needs a car, but is it truly going to make you satisfied? No. And so you're always going to have that feeling of there's got to be more to life than this. And so that's where I'm at. And so that's why it's like, this is more to my life. than the materialistic stuff that we see every single day. And so there has to be more, because people are killing themselves over physical items. Now, if you realize that a physical item you were able to instantaneously manifest, then all of a sudden, wouldn't it change the way that you looked at the physical item? Well, the star people are saying the more you hold on to an item. So let's say I can't live without this crystal, right? I can't live without this car. I need it. I need it. I need it. Then all of a sudden, you're building up resistance to accessing 5D or instantaneous manifestation. And so you want to start releasing, I don't need it, give it away. If I need it, it will show up for me. And so when you start living like that, and you start giving stuff away and you're just not worried, you know that in the now moment, you will always have everything that you need. That is when you can manifest the replicators, because you're releasing resistance and you're allowing that to fully incorporate into your physical reality. And so that's part of evolution into 5D, because 5D is instantaneous manifestation. And so you have to release the physical reality in order to rise above it. Instantaneous manifestation is a part of rising above, because you're learning how to control and manifest the physical reality. Yeah. And that's also including of the elementals they're saying. And so you can cast the elementals. You can, if you feel the need to ask, right? You can ask the elementals, or you can feel the emotion of the elementals, like wind. How does the wind feel? Right? So you can manifest a windy day. You can manifest the wind to stop. You can manifest rain. Most people feel aches and tension and like in altitude pressure shift, or whatever it's called. That's not bariatric. Barometer, he's saying? A barometer shift? Yeah, so in the atmosphere, you can feel the energetic shift before the rain comes. So it may make aches and pains. So how does it feel? All right? Does it feel like, because what is rain? Rain is water. We cry salt water, right? But the water itself is cleansing and purifying any emotions. So your density is going to be triggered, they're saying, in order to bring it to the surface so that the rain outside can wash it away. And so sometimes the environmentals need to be washed. And so that's like your entire location. Let's say you had a riot happen outside your door. All of a sudden, the rain is going to come and it's going to cleanse and purify all of that emotion. And so it like drops the emotion back to earth. Earth sucks in the emotion and it discharges ether, they're saying. And so that in turn, it starts to make the frequency of the location higher, because you are washing away the sins. He's saying, that's not my words, that's his words. He's laughing. He's an Arcturian. So there's one primary Arcturian who always follows me around. And so we have a very strong connection. And so if you ever hear me say him, it's because he's like my primary who's always with me. But like my whole room is filled with Arcturians and tons of other people from different species. So the Andromedans are here. There's angels that come. The angels are always with me. And so sometimes I acknowledge them. Sometimes I don't. And then sometimes the Mother Mary Collective or the Rose Collective. So there's a bunch of different guides and beings. And so Ganesh contacted me, Krishna, and that's not like things that I would be like interested in, like, but they've contacted me. So yeah, does anyone have any more questions? And we got 7 more minutes. So we're going to go over hold on one second. Let me just say, okay. I do offer sessions. So I offer Ascension sessions, which is basically the information that you need to get you to the next level. There's a lot of downloads of information as well as activations that occur during those sessions. And so if you're looking at what are my extrasensory gifts and abilities, what can I tune into now? How can I bend a spoon? All of that information comes across for the person, as well as their star family comes forward. Many times, there's one rep in my room, but your star family will be with you during that package, during that session. And so they actually do the energetics on you. So a lot of people can feel them in the room. They can feel them because they do a meditation before the call starts. And so I do a full energetic clearing on them. And so your star family comes in and does all that with you. And so the star people, just to throw this out there, they know exactly who each and every one of you guys are who are watching. And so they always send people to each one of you to protect you and help you and guide you. And so each and every one of you guys can make contact and communication with them. Just ask them, right? Because they know who you are. They know if you're going to ask them or not. They can see through time and space. Just imagine it's not just one ship that we're dealing with here. It's one ship of Arcturians who are above my head, but then they're tied into the planet, and the planet has 1 billion people who are here watching and helping. Because telepathy, we can go across the entire universe. And so this has scientifically been proven. right? And we can see this. This isn't spiritual anything. It's telepathy. And so human beings are going to start activating their telepathy. We already have it. We already utilize it. So a mother can feel when her child gets hurt. And so that's telepathy. That's because we're connected. And so when we start this, then we start the process of communicating with them as if we hear the voice inside of our head. We know it's our own voice. And so start asking questions and ask the star people to answer using that voice. They will. And start, I'm more of like science, right? So start asking questions that you don't have the answer to. Start, and I question, right? So I want to know, and I'm more like, here's my skeptical self. Prove it. Right. So show it to me and prove it. And so then they have to give me more information, right? Because I have to fully understand the material. Do that to them, right? Not judge them, but be a skeptic, right? And just get the real information and unpack it. Yeah. Oh, how can we dispel hurricanes? So I've done that. And so not tsunamis, I've done a hurricane. Long Island was supposed to get a hurricane. And so I spoke to one of my friends. I was like, listen, I'm doing a manifestation. I'm going to send the hurricane back out to the sea. Right. And I did it. And it took me about 2 seconds to do. Right. I just held the emotion code. I visually saw the hurricane push back out into sea. And I just thanked the angels and the star beings and all these people. Thank you so much for helping my island, because I was on Long Island. And thank you so much for pushing the hurricane out so that no people or houses or plants or animals, this way no one gets hurt. And so I told my friend that I was going to do this. He was like, yeah, right. So then at that point I was like, well, I'm also going to manifest a rainbow. This way we know it was my manifestation. And so the whole day came, no hurricane. The hurricane went back out to sea. And I was like, yes, I was just happy about that, right? No rainbow. It was dark. It was cloudy. It was crummy. It was going to be a hurricane, right? So the next morning, my friend goes to open his door and he goes to step out to go to work. And right in front of his house is a giant rainbow. He was like, oh my God, it worked. It was her, right? And then it didn't stop there, because that was only one rainbow early in the morning, 7 o'clock. And so later on in the evening, or like around noon or 1, another one of my friends saw a second rainbow on Long Island. And it didn't stop there, because come like 5, 6 o'clock in the evening, my other group of friends saw a third rainbow. And so that's 3 friends, 3 different rainbows, different locations on the island. And so I was like, that's proof if I ever needed any, right? And so that was it. And we can do this. And so just imagine sending the hurricane love and light. And just say, thank you for going back out to sea. It takes 2 seconds. Now, I do this very often, and my belief systems are unlocked. So a lot of times also, I'll have people contact me on Facebook. And so they'll send me a message, we have bad weather in this area. And then I'll ask people, or I'll send a post, guys, do like a quick 5-minute meditation with me and just thank Mother Earth for, dissipating the weather. And so a lot of times I visualize that vortex energetic, because we can pull that energy straight up our body and allow it to go into the upper atmosphere, breaking apart the clouds and the negative weather. And so each and every one of us can do this. This is part of our ability and our connection into Mother Earth. And so when you think about the trees as well, the trees are circular in its nature. The trees are sucking that vortex up, and it's amplifying the earth energy into the upper atmosphere. That's how that vortex energetic gets all the way up. The pyramids do the same exact thing, because the vortex energy, pyramid, it means fire inside. Pyramid, same thing. And so it's taking that vortex energy, which is fire, it's chi, it's electrical, right? It's inside of you and me, and it's projecting it way, way up into the upper atmosphere. But the pyramids actually send it to different star clusters as well. So yeah, it's amazing, absolutely amazing. And so, okay. So let me see. Yeah, so I do offer those sessions, and I do also do healing sessions. So if anyone is experiencing trauma and you guys want to get that off your chest, clear your energetics, and fully release it, then healing sessions are the way to go for that too. A lot of times, sometimes if I'm doing like the Ascension session, right? Like the star people, they channel through me so very fast. It's kind of like I kind of get out of the way and just let them do their thing. And so if a person needs to be healed too, a lot of times it will also come on an Ascension session. And so it just depends on the individual and what they need. So yeah, thank you so much for liking, sharing, and following. Anybody who goes and likes a Tree of Life organization on YouTube or shares it specifically, you guys do that, send me a message And then we're actually going to be giving away a Zoom session. And so twice a month we host a Zoom, and we do it's kind of like inner questions. This way, reading the comments gets a little wonky. So people normally they come on the Zoom and then they get to ask their questions, and so I get to ask it in real time. And so we do sell that too. That's on the Danielle Lipton website. It's the monthly Zoom, and so I believe it's coming up the first Saturday of the month. I'll have to check that one though. Yeah, so we do have Star People group. That's a Facebook group that I started. This way, in case there's any censorship on Facebook, you guys can go into that group and I can still post out my downloads. So that's a really important one. The crystal package. So we've had overwhelming crystals. Somebody has to take these crystals. So if you guys want to get one of those packages, just realize that well, the shipping is a lot because we're taking a 5-pound box and we're just completely jam packing it full with crystals. And so you guys are going to be getting a lot. There's a lot of them. And so it's good because even if you get a couple duplicates and stuff, it's still beautiful. We have brand new crystals that we're throwing in there too. And so it's going to be the, giveaway crystals and brand new crystals. And so it's nice and pretty and we make it nice. Now, you guys can take that. And you can also gift out some crystals to friends during Christmas and stuff. Each crystal, I actually take the time to go over. Sometimes I do them in a big pile on the table. And so what I do is I encode them with DNA activations from the Star People. And so my Arcturian, he's always with me. And so he does this with me. And so I could see his hands on top of mine. Actually, I had a session just yesterday and the lady was like, who is the blue man standing behind you? I'm like, that's my Arcturian. And she thought that he had 2 fingers. I'm like, he's got 3 and a thumb. And so, but we do the peace sign. And so this is our sign. Me and my kids, like if you see my Facebook, my kids do, I call it throw your 22s up. And we do this in every single picture. And so he was standing behind me throwing 2 fingers up because that's his peace sign. Now, it's funny because it's come to my attention over the past 6 months that this is a spiritual sign. And so I had no idea. And so, yeah, it's just amazing. It's the synchronicities. His name is Tarek. And so that's his name that he wants for the internet so that you guys can talk to him. Yeah. And so he's really cool and he's very funny and like he cracks jokes and he flies around and he like dive bombs people with the flies. And like my kids have seen this. He bops people on the nose with the flies multiple times. Like you can't make this up. The one time I came home, there was like 1 billion flies on my flower bed. And so me and the kids walked by and none of them moved. And so it was very odd. They were just like, you seeing this? And like, that's him. Right. And so it's just, we have amazing, I don't dance either. And so he can make you move your body and he can, he projects his consciousness. And so you have to realize that people who are at the 5D frequency, they have learned to master their psionic abilities. And so he can actually take his consciousness into my body and like, you won't really feel it. And like, if you're about to like fall off a cliff or something, he'll move you back over. And so he has this ability. And so this is where we're going. We're eventually going to unlock these things. And so, yeah, but like if you have to like, sometimes we play games and he makes you raise your arm. Like it's just fun and games. And everything is funny. It's just amazing. So yeah, there is an email subscription list. That's at daniellelipton.com. If you guys put your email in this way, once again, we do send out specials. And sometimes you guys get the downloads first. So sometimes I send them right out on an email. In time, I am going to be switching over to do more emails. So like any of the downloaded channels, it's easier to send them in an email direct. This way you guys can store them. So it's a lot. You can dance if you want to. You can leave your friends behind. Yeah. See? It's fun. He's a lot of fun and he laughs. And sometimes I notice that he channels through my kids. So my kids come and they say things and I'm like, that's him. Yeah. And so it's amazing. And like when I channel with people, sometimes I'll see him like, I think I was saying this earlier, he takes over them and he like winks. Right. I'm like, I know you did that. So it's amazing. Yeah. Does anybody have any final questions? Because we're at an hour and a half. Any final questions? Thank you guys so incredibly much. Vicky, you got goosebumps. At which part? At the fly or the dancing? It's just amazing. I couldn't believe someone from a session saw him. She was like, who's behind you? The blue man. Yeah, so that's him. Any more questions? No? Excellent. So, yeah, you guys can go to daniellelipton.com. That is my website. Tree of Life Organization. I post all my blog. That's my blog page. So any and all the downloads, there's over 500 downloads. So any information pertaining to extrasensory abilities, having problems in the physical reality and how to overcome them, a lot of that information turns into the best downloads. And so you have to realize it's by being the seeker that the information is given. And so by going through everyday problems, it has taught me to seek, because I'm like, why did that happen? And then all of a sudden I get a download. And then I'm like, okay, that download just helped, 10,000 people. I'm like, that's why that happened. So it's like you took one for the team. But it gets even deeper, because then you keep going through this, and then all of a sudden you look back and you're just like, it's a step-by-step instruction guide for how to access 5D and how to overcome any and all human problems that we all experience. And so the human experience comes with a range of problems that each and every one of us goes through. Most of our problems are very similar. The only difference is, like, let's say, for an example, I'm having a problem, right? And so this problem is through my perception. And so you guys could be having the same exact problem. It's different people and places and things. However, it's the same exact problem. And so if they're giving me information on how to solve the problem, that means that it doesn't matter if the people, places, and things are different. You can still take the information from that post and you can turn it into what you need to solve your problem. And so that's what they've given me. And so it's all online. I put it all out for free. So just enjoy, go read. If you have any questions, you can go to daniellelipton.com, send me a message, or you can go right to the Tree of Life organization and send me a message, or the Danielle Lipton profile. So I have multiple places. This way, we don't worry about censorship. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so incredibly much for coming, and many, many love and blessings. You guys have a great night.